your page, and so people can watch from your page at the same time.
Okay.
All right, it's getting set up. So then I'm gonna broadcast and
Okay.
live here.
Lori, just so you know, I shared the link with a colleague. His name is Marco Guzman and Guzman, and he'll be joining Marco Guzman.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So I guess we'll get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to be presenting a workshop on property taxes. I'd like to thank our local elected officials who put together this workshop and invited our organizations. We're several community-based organizations to actually present. We also have with us a representative from representatives from the New York City Department of Finance, who will actually conduct the presentation. Again, as I said, welcome, and we'd like to take this opportunity to allow some of our elected officials who are on the call with us to actually speak. We have Senator Leroy Comrie. We will start with you, Senator Comrie. Okay. Well, I know the senator is with us. Okay. Maybe having some technical difficulties. Okay. Well, we'll move on. I know that we have Assembly Member Khalil Anderson will be joining us. Assembly member, are you on the call?
I'm here, Lori. Sorry.
Oh,
They
hi.
had to make me a panelist, and I'm actually in conference in Albany. So, but I just wanted to say a quick good afternoon. I'll jump back to conference, but it's good to see everyone. It's good to see you, Lori, Assemblyman Vanel, Oda Friedenham. Hi, good to see you, Tamara. Thank you for putting this together. I'm proud to join you for the second installment of our Southeast Queens series of housing assistance forums that we're providing to residents. My office, we've been working on tax liens since I've been elected, and it's a very important opportunity to get the message out to the public. I want to thank Assemblyman Vanel and his office for hosting today's forum on property tax benefits, and extended thanks to all my colleagues. I thought I saw Assemblymember Hyman and Assemblymember Anderson on as well. Then I want to thank the Protect Our Homes Coalition and all of the service providers, which include Neighborhood Housing Services of Jamaica, Brooklyn Legal Services Aid, JASA, the Legal Aid Society, and the Center for New York City Neighborhoods. Making sure that we get this information out to our homeowners for property tax benefits, and also we're working in the Assembly to create other benefit opportunities for our homeowners as well. So I want to thank you for spreading this information and sharing this as extensively as possible so that many homeowners can be protected. Thank you all. Have a safe day. See you soon.
Great. Thank you, Senator Comrie. So do we have a representative from Senator James Sanders' office? Okay, so next we'll go to Council Speaker Adrian Adams. Just kind of go down the list here. We also have, I see online, we have Assembly Member Alicia Hyman.
Hi, yes, I'm here. I just want you to know right now I am on 3 Zooms. I'm in a hearing, I'm in session, but this, I know when I think about the District 29, the community that elected me, this is one of our primary issues. I'm so glad the Senator and my colleagues in government, we're doing this collaboratively, and my hope is that once again, please, this is being recorded, that you share this information, that we are here to help you and to make sure that we get the work done for our constituents. I'm going to have to, my Chief of Staff, Tunisia, is on here. She's going to put her information in the chat for us. But for all of you and the hard work that you all do in every respective agency, I thank you on behalf of the 29th Assembly District. Thank you, Senator Carmen.
Thank you, Assemblymember Hyman. So next we will move to State Assembly Member Clyde Vanel.
Well, welcome everyone. Thank you everyone for being here. We understand that Queens is a community and has many communities that homeownership is the cornerstone to what we built. We also understand that we've been fighting a lot for our homeowners to make sure that you have the proper rights, to make sure that we have a fair tax system, to make sure that you can stay here, build and grow and pass that asset to the next generation. But we also understand that we have to make sure that we create an environment that's fair in New York City, that's fair in New York State. And that includes our tax, our tax regime on the city and state level. And today we're working with some great organizations to help us figure out how to get through this. Also, we want to make sure that we are a resource for information for you. We're excited to see over 110 participants on this today, and even more on Facebook, and even more that are going to be watching this and be using this information. And guess what? I'm an elected official, but I need to learn too. That's why I learn from these organizations and institutions and be able to use some of this also for myself and for my family. So we're all in this together. Thank you for participating. Let's grow together.
Thank you, Assemblymember Vanel. Next, I'd like to ask State Assembly Member Khalil Anderson to join us.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you so much, Lori, from the Neighborhood Housing Services Jamaica, and to all of my colleagues who are on the call and worked really hard to make sure that this event took place. Thank you especially to you, Assemblymember Vanel, for having the foresight and focusing on this issue. Just like my colleague, Assemblywoman Hyman said, we are in session and attending hearings, but this is an issue that's critically important to the 31st Assembly District and to every resident in Southeast Queens, every homeowner in Southeast Queens. I hope that everyone is keeping healthy and well during these challenging times. And I hope that today's seminar on property tax benefits for homeowners creates a level of clarity and transparency and understanding of what the system looks like for our homeowners as the property tax bills are coming due, as well as some of the utility bills are coming due. So we want to make sure folks are aware of that. So I thank all of our partners for making sure that today's event is a success. And also just making sure that we are being more proactive on this issue as a caucus and as a coalition is really important. We see in Southeast Queens and in some neighborhoods of Southeast Queens, we have among the highest rates of foreclosure than any other part of the city. And part of how we stem those issues and stop some of those issues is making sure that our constituency is engaged and educated. And today we're doing just that. So I want to thank all of my colleagues again for today's event. I'm going to be hopping between this and legislative session and hearings. So I thank you guys very much, and let's continue to build our working class families here in Southeast Queens.
Great. Thank you, Assemblymember Anderson. Next, do we have a representative from City Council Member Selvina Brooks Powers' office? Or is she with us?
Lori, she might be an attendee. I was an attendee for a while. Maybe folk need to be promoted.
Okay. I think, yeah, we were trying to promote everyone. So I'll move on to Councilmember Natasha Williams, and we'll make certain that they are both promoted. Thank you. So do we have a representative from Councilmember Natasha Williams' office? Sarah, are they both promoted? Okay. Well,
Yeah, I believe that everyone that should be promoted has been, but if someone is still on the attendee side and you'd like to make remarks, just if you could drop your name in the chat, we'll send you over.
Okay, thank you. So just a minor housekeeping issue. As we go through the presentation, if you have questions, we ask that you put those questions in the chat box. We'll have a Q&A session at the end. We also ask that everyone keep themselves muted so that we don't have background noise that interferes. After the Q&A session, we'll collect your questions. We'll ask those questions of the presenter or any of the other organizations that you might have questions for. And time permitting, we'll allow folks to unmute themselves and ask any question that hasn't been covered already. So thank you. So we'll move on now and we'll start. What we want to do first is actually introduce the Queens Coalition of the Protect Our Homes initiative. And this is an initiative that was initiated by the Attorney General's Office, the Center for New York City Neighborhoods, HPD, New York City's Housing Preservation and Development is also a partner, and the enterprise community. And the goal of the Protect Our Homes initiative was to address issues of displacement, destabilization in certain communities. Those communities are Central Brooklyn, Southeastern Queens, and North Bronx. As you heard Assemblymember Anderson said, we do and have for many, many years had a very high foreclosure rate in the community. And so affordable home ownership is key, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to talk about property taxes. Anything that we can do to decrease our costs of home ownership makes it more affordable for folks. But this is a partnership, and the organizations, next slide. The organizations that comprise the Protect Our Homes Queens Coalition are Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation A, also known as BKA, Legal Aid Society, Queens Office, Neighborhood Housing Services of Jamaica, and JASA Legal Services for Elder Justice. Next. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask each one of the partners, the Queens Coalition partners, to just give a brief, introduction and go over the products and services that we offer to the community. So we'll start with Brooklyn Legal Services, Corbe.
Thank you, Lori, and thank you to all our elected officials for sponsoring this event, NHS Jamaica, JASA, and Legal Aid Society, and to our presenter this afternoon, Mr. Michael Sharp with the Department of Finance. And thank you everyone for joining us. Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation A has been providing high quality free legal services for over 50 years. We have 3 programs and offer services throughout New York City. Under our Preserving Affordable Housing program, we represent tenants facing eviction and tenant associations whose landlords are violating the fair housing laws. Under our Community Economic Development program, we represent small businesses and community-based organizations and provide commercial lease assistance. Under our Consumer Economic Advocacy program, Brooklyn A uses civil legal remedies such as complex litigation, as well as non-legal advocacy to protect equity of low and moderate income families. We prevent foreclosures and defend against predatory lending. We also assist taxpayers who have federal and New York State personal income tax issues. At this time, I would like to pass it to my colleague, Oda Freedom. Next slide, please.
I'm sorry, Tamara, I just want to interrupt for a minute. As Council Member Sylvina Brooks Powers has joined us, so we'd like to ask her to make some comments. Councilmember Powers.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me?
It's kind of fading in and out, but we can hear you.
Okay. Well, I'll make it brief because I don't want to take away from today's much needed presentation. Homeowner education. So I represent a mixture of owner, residents, as well as young people wanting to become homeowners. And so I'm so excited to partner with all of my colleagues in government in Southeast Queens. The property tax benefit that exists for homeowners, benefits that homeowners receive as well. And this is a part of a series that our state elected officials have been leading the charge on. And so thank you to the partners that are leading the presentation today and for those who took time to be a part of this. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So,
Oh yeah, I'm Oda Friedheim, supervising attorney for the Legal Aid Society's Foreclosure Prevention Unit. The Legal Aid Society has actually been around for over 175 years, believe it or not. But I'm just going to focus right now on the Foreclosure Prevention Unit, what we're doing here in Queens. We are deeply committed to preserving homes and neighborhoods. And to that end, we provide services to defend foreclosure actions, to assist homeowners with any and all mortgage problems, including defaults and loan modification. We are also dealing with tax lien foreclosures, co-op foreclosures that are non-judicial, and condominium arrears. So we have also gotten involved in dealing with violations that are imposed on homeowners by the Department of Building. And we can be reached. I think our number is here. We used to run a court-based clinic. Unfortunately, during COVID, we were unable to do so, but we can still be reached at 718-298-8979. I hope we hear from you. Thank you.
Next slide. Oh, so it's me. My name is Lori Miller. I'm the Executive Director of Neighborhood Housing Services of Jamaica. We are a locally based certified housing counseling agency. We've got 2 offices in Jamaica, and we provide a full range of housing services. We help folks get and maintain quality affordable housing, foreclosure prevention counseling, which ties in directly with the Protect Our Homes initiative. We have programs that offer rehab loans and grants and construction monitoring services. The construction monitoring services is something that's unique to our loan and grant program. So it relieves the homeowner of the need to actually monitor, and know what's going on with their work. We have a construction monitor who is a licensed contractor who does that. We also help homeowners who have issues with their property taxes, applying for property taxes, applying for payment plans, if they are delinquent, both on property taxes, water and sewer charges. Very well subscribed to program is our first time home buyer counseling and education workshops. We do those on a monthly basis, sometimes twice a month. And then the counselors also work one-on-one with prospective home buyers. Working with our program gives folks access to, a number of grants. A lot of the banks offer, grant programs, but also city NHS of not NHS of New York City, but the city grants from the government. We also help tenants with the affordable housing lottery application. Those are, on Housing Connect, and those are the lotteries that for the properties, usually rental properties, so sometimes they're home ownership opportunities. We're also doing landlord and tenant counseling. NHS of Jamaica is working with Catholic Charities on the emergency rental assistance program. And then we also have financial wellness education, often called financial literacy programs, to help folks focus on issues like budgeting, credit, insurance, estate planning. So really it is sort of full cycle from tenants to prospective home buyers, and then once folks are homeowners, helping them maintain their homes and retain their homes. And next we're going to hand off to JASA, Dion Woodburn.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and I'm going to make it quick because we have so much information to go through. My name is Dion Woodburn. I am the Legal Services Supervisor for JASA, Legal Services for Elder Justice, and we provide free, high-quality legal services to one of our most vulnerable populations, to adults 60 and older, and we provide it in matters that place older adults at risk. You see here evictions, loss of public benefits, inadequate health care, elder abuse, and financial exploitation. And while we do that, we're fulfilling JASA's mission. So as you see there, we have entitlements. We assist with tax deductions, tax credits. And so as part of this coalition, as you can see, the 4 organizations that are here, we can do a holistic approach to clients going forward. So if you have questions, our information will come in one of the following slides. Thank you so much.
And so this is just the what we call our partner slide, and it gives you all of our names, our organizations, and how to contact us. We are all working remotely, so the address if you need to mail something to us, but we have our email addresses there and our phone numbers. So if you need information, give one of us a call. And next, we're going to move to the presentation. We have Mr. Michael Sharp, who's the outreach liaison with the New York City Department of Finance, and Michael will present on property tax exemptions. Michael?
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for this invitation, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. It's really great that you are doing this particular session at this time, because right now you're in a time period where the benefits that we discuss, you actually still have time to investigate, collect information, and apply. It's not at the deadline, and you still have a little time to work with. So it's really good that we're able to talk about these things today. The information that we're going to consider is regarding property tax exemptions for homeowners. We'll also include some information for uh, owners of condos and co-ops, which many of you may be. And to do that, I will hopefully be able to share my screen with you. So take you to the Department of Finance website and be able to share the information with you there. So let's see if we can do that and get right into things. Now you should be seeing the Department of Finance screen on your screens. And we're going to really spend our time here. You know, we could do this by means of a PowerPoint, but unless you have the PowerPoint, you can't really effectively do the things or follow through. Here, we're showing you where these things are on the website. So anybody that has the internet connection can follow up right after we speak and start working on these benefits for themselves, their property, their family, their neighbors. If you only come away with one thing today from my presentation, is to be proactive. The exemptions that we are talking about today, for the most part, you have to apply by March 15th. So we have time. There's one that you need to let us know about before February 15th. We'll tell you about that too. But whatever you see today that's of interest to you, please follow through and let's get involved. The Department of Finance website, just to show you right off the top, there's a lot of information here. All right. And it can be a little bit intimidating, but we want to show you two things on the home page that should be helpful. First of all, the information on the website, not all of the forms, but the information on the website is available in a number of languages. If you're looking to research information that impacts your home, you might want to read it in a language other than English. If another language is, you might say, the language of your heart. It's important information, and the ability to understand it is a starting point. So the information is available in a number of languages. The next thing is that the search box right here can help you find what you're looking for. If I'm looking for a property tax exemption, but I don't know which one, I just start typing exemptions and look at all of the choices that pop up. So the box is here to help you. But we want to make it even simpler for those that are with us today. What we're talking about are ways to save. So right in the middle, we have this box that says ways to save. When you want to talk about exemptions or abatements or different programs like that, think about ways to save, and you can go right here. And that's going to bring you to a page where we have a number of different programs. Now, we'll speak about the condo and co-op abatement program first, and then we'll get into the property tax exemptions. Now, the condo and co-op abatement program is an exemption that you don't apply for directly yourself. The development in which you live in, they register with us and apply on your behalf. If that particular development is eligible and they're participating in the program, you simply have to let them know that the unit that you're living in is your primary residence. Now, there are some stipulations that has nothing to do with age or income, but you can't own more than 3 units in the development, something like that. But you can just let them know that this is your primary residence. If they are participating in the program, they will pass that information on to you, and they will receive an abatement with in your behalf. Now, the way that this works is that an abatement is applied to the taxes after they're calculated. If you think of it, if you were checking out at a grocery store and it was an 8% sales tax, an abatement might make that 4% sales tax. It doesn't get involved with your property values or your assessed value or anything. It just takes the tax number, whatever it is, and it cuts it by a percentage. So if you live in a co-op or a condo and your development participates in the program between now and February 15th. That's when your development has to contact us. So do it before. Let them know that this is your primary residence and you can have that abatement. Now, it just so happens that if you have the abatement, you can also have exemptions if you qualify. So let's talk about the exemptions a little bit. We're on the same page. We're going to drop down here to property related benefits and tap on property owners, because that's what we are, right? We're property owners. Now here, this convenient flyer, you might say, comes up with the 7 different exemptions that we're going to spend our time speaking about today. And you probably can't see it that well. I'll maybe blow it up just a little bit more. That might be better. And as you can
Michael,
see,
sorry, Michael, can I ask a quick question? One of the attendees was asking if you could clarify what is an abatement.
an abatement is, you might say, a reduction in your tax, but it's something that's applied after the taxes are calculated. Um, you'll understand that a little bit more as we talk about how the exemptions work. But I can use this illustration. Picture a shopping cart and you're pushing it down the checkout line. And the exemption says, what's in your cart? I'm going to lower the price of what's in your cart. I'm going to lower the value of what's in your cart. And so you go to the checkout line, you check it out. And when you do that, the cashier at the end, there's a sales tax at the end, right? And so what that does, it says, oh, today we're cutting taxes by 4%. So you're only paying 4% on what you've just purchased. So I guess you might say an exemption is like having a coupon, and an abatement is like someone just cutting the sales tax afterwards. Does that make any sense to anyone here? Hopefully it does. But you'll understand a little bit more as we talk about how the exemptions work. An abatement cuts tax after they're calculated. An exemption lowers your property's assessed value and makes the tax calculation lower before. So let me just get into it, and we'll probably get a little more clarity with it there. We're going to start at the left. Keep my eye on the time. I have about 8 minutes now. The STAR benefit is something that's actually administered by the state for homeowners with a combined income of $250,000. It works out to be close to $300 a year in a benefit. You would apply with the state in most instances if you don't have the benefit already. If you've had it previously and somehow have lost it, the Department of Finance may be able to restore the STAR for you. But for the terms of our presentation today, think applying with the state for the STAR benefit. Another benefit closely related is the eStar benefit or enhanced STAR. This is like the other in the fact that it provides another exemption, but it's for a special group. This is for seniors 65 years of age and older with a annual income of $92,000. And we'll just say this at the top: if we have an exemption that's is based upon your income or a qualifying factor like age, all of the owners would have to meet that qualification. So if it's based on income, we're going to look at the income of all of the owners. If it's based on age, then all of the owners would have to meet that age requirement unless they are siblings or spouses. Okay, we'll just say that at the top. So with the STAR benefit, you can have either STAR or eStar, not both. And of course, if you qualify by age and income, by all means, apply for the eStar. The senior citizens homeowner exemption and the disabled homeowners exemption, they work very similar to each other. In this instance, you have one of or the other again. But for the senior exemption, the age is 65 years or older, and the income level this time is $58,399. For the disabled homeowners, the income requirement is the same, but in this instance, they would have to be individuals that are receiving a disability benefit, SSI or SSDI. Now, this works a little bit differently because this benefit reduces your assessed value by a percentage depending on your income. It will reduce your assessed value of your property between 5 and 50%. Because the assessed value is a key figure in the calculation of your taxes, when we reduce your assessed value, your taxes go down. So we just said that a person may have their assessed value reduced by 50%. In fact, if your income is below 50%, below $50,000, you can hit that 50% threshold. And that literally will cut your taxes in half. Powerful exemption. So keep that in mind if that's something that may apply to you. The veterans exemption, there's no age or income requirement here. This is based upon a record of service. And it comes in 3 tiers. There's a basic veterans exemption, a combat veterans exemption, and a disabled veterans exemption. Here you're looking at reducing your assessed value, once again, between 15 or 25% or more, because each level adds another level of reduction to your assessed value. The veteran himself or herself, their spouses, even their unremarried surviving spouses, if they're widows or widowers, and Gold Star parents are eligible here. There's only certain areas, certain time periods of engagement that are eligible, though. World War I, World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, Persian Gulf, Afghanistan. Those periods of time are eligible for this benefit. The next benefit is not something that we don't get too often, but if a person is injured trying to prevent a crime or assist a victim of a crime and they are a civilian, if this gives them a disability of some sort and they must modify their home to accommodate that disability, sometimes those modifications to your home will actually raise your property's assessed value. Well, if that's the case, we're not going to look at that and calculate that greater value when they calculate the taxes. They're going to sort of look past that and not make that a part of your tax base also. And for the last one, this is a little bit different. Everything that we've talked about thus far is for your primary residence and a home within the 5 boroughs. For the clergy exemption, it can be within New York State. It doesn't have to be your primary residence. The only exception here that it's not available for co-ops. Right. Now, here's the thing that we want you to remember. We talked about different qualifications and different levels of exemptions. You can combine these exemptions and receive as many as you're eligible for. You can have, let's say you're a senior. You could have the E-Star, the senior benefit. If you served as a veteran, you can have that as well. And if you're a member of the clergy, you could have that too. The clergy benefit, by the way, is worth about $250. And it's for people who are actively involved in that type of vocation. You would send the application and a record of your service. That is a letter from your house of worship. In the veterans exemption, it would be your record of service or DD 214. So you might say that that's the lightning round regarding exemptions. And so we just want to give the thought that the information here is very valuable and it's accessible. It's right here on the Department of Finance website. Now, for the details and the applications themselves, you simply go down the same page and all of the information is here. Let's open up the senior citizens exemption. And you'll see there's the details about eligibility, income, deadlines, some frequently asked questions, a very good section. For instance, one question that comes up a lot is people say, you know what, I want to pass my home to my son or daughter. Should I just and I qualify for these exemptions, but I just want to make things simple for when I'm not here. Can I just add their name to the deed? Well, remember earlier we said if you have an exemption that's based on age and income, everyone who is an owner must meet that qualification. So simply by adding a son or daughter to your deed, you can actually disqualify yourself for receiving an exemption that otherwise you'd be eligible for. So when you're going to make moves for that, we do not give financial and legal advice, but we recommend that you get someone who is well versed in estate planning. Those say not just a real estate lawyer, but someone that knows about elder planning and estate planning for when you're dealing with this and thinking about trust and life estates, and get the help, because the way that you handle these matters will impact the eligibility for exemptions and many other things regarding your property. I'm going to backtrack a little bit here. And just want to mention one other thing before we go. Well, two things. You have excellent resources here on the uh, information session, knowledgeable in all of these things that I've mentioned. And so reach out and contact them if you need help. There may be times where you feel the need to contact the Department of Finance. And this tab will show you how to do that. You can do it by mail, in person at our business centers, by phone. If you call 311, here's you might say a tip for today. If you're calling between 8:30 and 4 o'clock, you can ask for a homeowner property exemption customer service person, someone who has a little more in-depth knowledge and maybe access to even more things that the uh, maybe the 311 operator may not have the same level of access and information that they're able to help you with. So ask for um, a homeowner exemption customer service person, and you might find it be quite helpful. Online, here you can see again that there are a number of different tabs here because there's so many things that people want to talk to finance about. But here you see this property benefits and ways to save. All of these exemptions that we talked about are right here. Now, what does this do? Well, if you were to select one of these, and maybe it'll show it to us here now. Let's check the senior citizens again. You see we're leaving the website, but not really. We're going into another portal. It's going to ask you to create an account, a name, a username, and a password. Your email is connected to your email. And what this does is if you submit your question here, it goes to the departments that administer the various benefits, that make the determinations. So you see that you're kind of getting into where you need to be to get the answers that you need. Now, there is a queue that they sort of take this information and make sure that it gets distributed, but you really are getting closer to the people with the information than just calling a general information number. And you see up here, it says my cases. Uh, it'll actually log your communications with the Department of Finance. You guys can talk back and forth a little bit. You can upload documents. So it's something to think about, to look into. Maybe you thought that calling 311 was the only option, but that is also an option. And before we go, just one other thing. We're in a time period now called the Notice of Property Value season. The Notice of Property Value is a document that the Department of Finance, let's see, the Department of Finance sends out each year, and it's actually a snapshot of what we have on file for you for the coming tax year. It's our data, is what we have regarding your property. It will give you an estimate of your taxes for the year to come. It will show you your market value, your assessed value, your taxable value. It will show you the exemptions that you have on your property. There are even instructions there for if you want to review your market value, you've got an issue with it. If you want to review or challenge your assessed value, it shows you how to do those things. It introduces you to an agency called the Office of the Taxpayer Advocate, which is somebody who can help you if you've tried to resolve issues with the Department of Finance but have not been successful. It's really a valuable document, but you know the problem? At the top, it says, this is not a bill. So you know what happens to mail that's not a bill? We put it on the side, and maybe we don't look into it that much. But definitely, it is something that you should, it's coming to you in the mail right now. In the month of February, we'll have information sessions, 8 of them. You can see the information here on the Department of Finance website. And you can register for these events and listen to how this document can help you going forward. It's going to really be something valuable for you. Want to leave a few minutes for questions. I'm sure there are a few.
Thank you so much, Michael. That was really, really helpful. Okay, so we actually have a ton of questions.
Should have shut up earlier.
which is great. Okay, so we'll get started. And whoever wants to take them can. All right. A clarification, are the income thresholds for adjusted income?
It's a good question. What you should do is read the instructions under each exemption, because different exemptions are looking at different income calculations. So it's not one calculation all the way across the board. STAR might look at adjusted, but senior and disabled may look at total income. So it's laid out well in the instructions for each, but they do vary from exemption to exemption.
Okay, great. All right. If you meet the income thresholds, are you guaranteed an exemption?
Are you guaranteed? Well, it's not like there's a limited amount of funds, and if you don't get it in early enough, they're going to run out of exemption money. That's not how this works. If that's the only qualification, then you should be fine. Here's the other thing: sending in the application in a timely way and providing all of the proper documentation. You may be qualified eligibility wise as far as income is concerned, but or did you get the information? Did all of the owners sign? That's one of the requirements. Hold on a moment. Rule number 1 is you always silence those before any event. But it's if you're worried about there being a limited amount of funds, that's not a concern here. But income is just one part of it. Make sure you follow all the instructions. For instance, you're fine, but you didn't have all the owners sign. If we want to get all the owners' signature, then you have to follow through and do that. Meeting the income is not a guarantee, but it's not because of lack of funds. You have to meet all of the follow all of the instructions.
Great. So a couple questions around if folks think that their property taxes are too high, what can they do?
Okay, well, of course that happens. The notice of property value, that document that's coming in the mail right now, will tell you why we've arrived at the figures that we have. And I suggest you spend some time on page 2 of that document. It's going to show you the market value, which is based upon probably comparative sales in your neighborhood, the assessed value, which has a number of factors involved with that beyond the scope of answering this question, the exemptions that are on your property, and a lot of factors. So the first thing I would say is to educate yourself about what we have on your property. What data do we have? The next thing is you can have your property, your market value reviewed. Now, for most people, we think the market value is directly related to how high my taxes are. Of course, it's related, but there's so many factors in the calculation of taxes. It may not be the have the type of influence that you believe it does. Market value is just a start, and then there's a calculation that comes that uh, we arrive at an assessed value, which is a much lower percentage of your overall market value. So that document, you're going to get it soon if you don't already have it. The notice of property value, open it up, read it, and if you want to review your market value, it'll tell you how to request a review from the assessor's department. And if you have a problem with your assessed value, it'll even tell you how to challenge that with the tax commission.
Awesome. We have a couple of, or actually before we get to that, do you have to notify your mortgage lender if you have these benefits?
That's a good question. Do you have to I should know the answer to that. Probably one of our homeowner folks on the line would have a better answer for that. I would think that the taxes come to them with the exemptions in place, but it's probably a good idea to inform your mortgage lender, make them know everything about your property. Perhaps somebody from NHS or one of the other providers know what the best practice is in that regard.
I'll answer. The best practices, as you said, Michael, you do fill out the exemptions, but it does not hurt to let your mortgage provider know as well, because they should be getting all the exemptions if they're paying the taxes.
And I guess if nothing else, they would know to look for them and to see if it's on the bill. If you say I'm getting senior and veterans and clergy, and they're not seeing it, at least they can raise the flag.
Yes, exactly.
Great. Trying to find, there's a couple of senior questions. Okay. Are senior citizens with reverse mortgages eligible for tax exemption?
We don't get into how you pay for your property. Remember the eligibility requirements. If you have a question like that, look at the eligibility requirements. If you have the age and you have the income and you're considering all of the owners, they qualify. That's all we're concerned about. And like I say, I'm not the mortgage guy, but maybe one of the other folks on the call would know. And by the way, as long as you can combine things for seniors, E-Star and senior exemption, you can have both of them. Remember, as many as you qualify for, you can get.
That's very helpful. We had a number of questions around combined exemptions, so you covered that. Does that remain true for state and city exemptions?
Well, I can't answer to the state. I don't know if there's anything where they sort of cross each other and cancel. I'm not sure. Um, in my experience, the state doesn't take things away if you qualify under your local municipality. I don't know of that. In this particular instance, the STAR is administered by state. I think we take care of East Star, but the age requirement keeps you from having both. One is for seniors and the other is for anybody with the right income requirement.
Awesome.
Yes, and all of the everybody needs to qualify. If it's based on age and income, all of the owners must meet that qualification unless you are spouses or siblings.
So if a property is co-owned by siblings and one of the siblings lives elsewhere, does that disqualify the resident from the senior discount?
It's usually for those that are residing in the property that we would want to see that, but I can't say categorically that if there's a sibling that lives elsewhere and their income, once is considered, does not put you over the income limit. I think I have seen that that people can get that uh, exemption, but that would be something I would double check for you. I'm sure. I think that works that way. Um, but once again, here's an interesting stipulation. Don't let that keep you from applying the fact that I couldn't answer that definitively today. Send it in, and the worst thing that happens is that we say, no, this is a disqualifying factor. But once again, they said age and income, residency does come into play, So I would check that, but I do believe that there are stipulations where you can still get the exemption.
Wonderful. How does someone obtain a list of properties that are subject to tax lien sale?
That's published on the website. That's public information. You can actually pick it up in a newspaper because we publish it in a newspaper each year. So if you were to type lien sale into the search box, it'll bring you to the home page for lien sale. And you should be able to see that information that you're looking for.
Great. So we have a homeowner whose tenants haven't paid rent since the eviction moratorium went into place. Any grant for property taxes as it relates to that?
Not from the Department of Finance. That sounds like more of a hardship type of thing. Now there are ways to. I hope you guys are getting that chime when I hear it in my. But there are ways to arrange payment plans and payment arrangements to try to maybe lessen the burden of a property tax situation such as that. But I believe on the event with us, there may be other folks that know of different hardship arrangements for just that situation. Department of Finance doesn't have those type of things, but they do have arrangements to pay flexible property taxes. And when I say that, the amount of tax is still due at the time that it's due, and it still incurs interest if it's not paid. But there are arrangements to kind of give you special financing or defer payments sometimes, or put your back taxes on a payment plan so there are ways to work with this. I would reach out to us with your personal situation and see what fits your circumstance, and then see what hardship stuff there is out there, maybe from the state.
Awesome. Okay, so there's a couple of questions. There's a question around the green roof exemption and the solar exemption. But before we get there, we have a request to, if you could lay out the steps to dispute property tax.
Okay. All right. Had to scratch my head a little bit on that one. Well, to dispute property tax, let's take that in parts. I think the first thing you would do is to try to see why you feel the tax is not right. It because it's a lot doesn't necessarily make it illegal, if that's the right word, or non-compliant with tax law. Um, so so it's more than just a feeling or related to one's ability to pay. And I hope that doesn't sound harsh or cold. The taxes are calculated by set laws and set procedures. So what to do is to look at your different elements of your property and to see if there's a basis for making an adjustment. You might look at your market value, which may, but like I said before, it's not as critical as you may believe. And you'll look at the sales, comparative sales of properties in your area. Now, there are tools on the Department of Finance website to help you to do that. Am I still sharing my screen?
You are.
Oh, I thought I was looking at folks. That's a shame. But since I'm here, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't know you were looking at that. I thought you were looking at me.
Well, we can see you too. That's okay. But
And
we could,
not that I'm an egomaniac, but I wasn't sharing anything meaningful at that time. Let me just type NOPV in here, right? And I want to show you what happens when you do that. It takes us to the home page of the notice of property value. Now look what we have down here. Challenge. It's so funny. I just got a poke from somebody who's from the property assessment group. I couldn't do that to him though. But as you're looking at this, challenging your market or assessed value. So you're in an area here where it's going to take you through those steps. Now, if you want to review your market value, you can request that, and that's where you would start that here. In fact, you can file for both of these. Now, this is actually going to take you towards the tax commission. The tax commission works with your assessed value, and the Department of Finance will review your market value. So you have two agencies and two people that you are, for lack of a better word, oh no, it said that you're working with on this. The other thing to do is to look and see if the information we have on your property is correct. If you live in a one family house, but when you see your notice of property value, you see that it says it's a three family house, or your square footage is way off, or if we don't have the right information for you, then that would be a problem. Do we have the right owners? Because if you're seniors, but we have your child on as an owner also, you don't qualify for exemptions, and not age based. And so there could be a lot to it. I think the thing about this is, starting right now, because we have until March 15th, make your taxes a project for yourself. Let's do our homework. Come to the NOBPV page. Um, when it comes to assessments, there are tools here. And knowing how your taxes are calculated, this guide right here has a lot of good information to show you the process of learning how your taxes are calculated. Um, and then you have also here, I don't see it right at hand here. There are maps that can show you the market value of other properties in your area. You type in your borough, block, and lot. And so there are tools here that can help you build your case for whether your taxes are appropriate or not. So I might say it's a lot to it, but start working. You have time. Now you must file these, what do you call them? These requests or these challenges before March 15th, before the exemption deadlines. And those deadlines vary for different classes of properties. So do your homework. It's right here on the site.
That was very helpful. Thank you so much for walking us through that, Michael.
So,
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to the question that someone had about, darn, it just like slipped my mind. The question just before Michael was speaking.
Oh, sorry, hang on one second. Michael, you might want to
Stop sharing.
stop sharing, yeah.
I'll get the hang of this sooner or later.
No, that's okay. Okay, sorry, go ahead, Lori.
Okay. I'm sorry. I apologize because the question has escaped me. Someone had asked just before Michael started speaking. Do you recall what that question was?
Let's see. Well, I mentioned that we were going to move on to the green roof and solar exemptions, but previously, I think maybe that was the question around the tenants.
Oh, yes. So tenants who haven't paid rent.
Yes.
There is, New York State is administering the emergency rental assistance program. So tenants who are behind on their rent should be encouraged to apply. At the moment, funding, there are no guarantees on the funding, but the groups that are still eligible for funding are homeowners, tenants who are between 80, over 80% of AMI up to 120%. There's also the landlord emergency rental assistance program that's called LRAP. So if you are a homeowner, landlord, and you have tenants, who have not paid, if it's because of they were impacted by COVID, then you should encourage them to apply. And as the landlord, you can also apply. There are also protections for tenants. Those tenants where there's no guarantee of payment, they will still get the same protections from eviction if their applications are approved. And then the other thing is someone had asked a question about grants or financial assistance, to pay property taxes. The New York State Homeowner Assistance Fund, referred to as HAF, does have a provision for homeowners, so that would include a landlord who has been impacted by COVID, either themselves or it could be because your tenants aren't paying rent. And if you are behind on your mortgage, if you are behind on your property taxes, and again, if it's directly related to some impact from COVID, you should definitely apply for those programs. And all of the organizations on this call can assist you with that.
Thank you for that, Lori. Yeah, and we can also send out, with the recording of this presentation, we can send out a presentation recording that we just did specifically on how to apply for HAF and the eligibility. Great. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Councilmember Natasha Williams. She's joining us here. And so thank you for being here and thank you for your support, Councilmember. Okay, so let's get back to the question around the green roof and solar exemptions. How do they work and how long do you have them for?
First of all, I'm not still sharing my screen, am I?
You're not.
Okay. Those exemptions are actually administered by, I believe, Department of Buildings and maybe HPD. There is information regarding them, but the information that we have would just refer you to those different agencies. Let me see. Yes, solar roof abatement is here. Green roof abatement is here, but they're just going to give you a link to go to another. Hold on a second. Hold on. Let me just see here. Before I don't want to miss. May I share my screen again?
Sure, go ahead.
I don't think it may not let me this time. Oh, I think it will.
Uh-oh. There we go.
All right. Now I went to the same page. Okay. And forgive me for not being very well versed on these. It doesn't come up a lot for me. But here's the green roof abatement. You can read about it. Here is the solar roof abatement. You can't read about it. Oh, here it is. Um, and and so I think this is administered by the Department of Buildings, I believe. Maybe we do more with the green roof, but the information is here, and I apologize that I can't speak in depth on that. But better to say nothing than misspeak. But the information is here where we had the other exemption information.
Okay, great. Where does someone or who does someone submit appeals to?
Appeals for,
Can
oh,
we get clarification,
probably
Kiana?
maybe an exemption, or probably it's the same place. If you, let's say you're challenging your, let's say it's an exemption that you were denied for various reasons. That would normally be with the tax commission, particularly if it's the way that we have maybe calculated your income or different eligibility that way. If it's, I would suggest this, if it's simply a clerical thing, we asked you for certain information and you haven't gotten it to us yet and you were denied. If you can, become compliant with the request and the deadline hasn't reached, try to send the information in, and that way maybe you can get it in restored. That's the exemption wise, or be approved. But usually it's the tax commission if you want to challenge a property tax assessment or your determination on an exemption.
Great, thank you so much. So we still have a number of questions, but we do want to respect everyone's time. We've gone 15 minutes over so far. If there's anyone that we haven't gotten to your questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'll send out a copy of this presentation as well as all of our contact information. You can reach out to us. Any of the legal service providers, I imagine, Michael, you can entertain questions as well. And other housing counselors, we're here to answer your questions. Sorry that we did not get to all of them, but I do hope this is helpful. Do any of the elected officials want to make closing remarks? If so, if you're a panelist, you can unmute yourself, or if you're under attendee, just drop a note in the chat.
So Sarah, I would just like to say, again, I'd like to thank our elected officials for sponsoring these series and allowing us to participate. And to the participants, it's important to share this information. And while we have, as was said before, we have over 115 participants on this workshop, we ask that you help us get the word out. The last workshop that we did on property tax, it was about the tax lien sale. One of the participants shared with us at the end that they had gone to a neighbor who was a senior citizen because they had seen this neighbor's house on the tax lien sale list. And she helped her fill out the application and was able to get her property off of the tax sale lien list. So it's important to share this information as far and wide as you can to help your neighbors, your friends, your relatives, and just the community in general. And again, all of us are here to help, and we ask that you, send people to us, have them call us, so we can help preserve homeownership in our community, Southeastern Queens.
Thank you, everyone. We hope that you have a wonderful day, and we'll be sending out a copy of this presentation. We hope everyone has a great day, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.